Yes.
Okay. So, I call you. Do I call you Manikam? Manikam. How do I pronounce your name?
Manikyam is my surname.
Okay.
I was called. I will be called as Philip.
Okay, Philip it is. Philip it is.
Yes. Yes.
Nice name. Nice name, Philip.
Yeah. Thank you.
The queen's for husband, Philip. I like that. All right. Now then,
Yes.
let's look at your writing first, Philip. Okay, I'll just put it on the screen for you.
Yeah.
Okay. Now remember, with IELTS, we do have to write 2 essays. Okay,
Yes.
we have to write the task 1 and the task 2 within the allotted time, and we get graded. You actually get graded by a different examiner for each one, and then the marks are put together. You get more marks for task 2. We get 2/3 of the marks for task 2, and 1/3 for task 1. Now then, you've done quite well with this essay.
Okay.
Generally speaking, your use of the vocabulary in particular is very good, of a very high standard. And
Thank you.
You've got some relatively advanced grammar structures working well also.
Okay.
Where we're not quite as good is on the the presentation and the task achievement. The writing's graded with 4 different scores, each worth 25% of the marks.
Yes.
Now, in this first paragraph here, we just need to be quite relatively short. We want to introduce the topic.
Okay.
And then we want to set out your thesis statement, which is what your opening opinion. So you've sort of done the second of those because you've said it here.
Yeah.
But you're going into detail here, and we don't want to do that in this part of the essay.
Okay.
We just want a general sentence that says what it's about. So this is about the choice of your venue to study for your degree in higher education. So we want a sentence to explain what that's about. And then we set out our thesis statement, but not saying as much as this. We just want to say maybe like, generally, I agree that this is the better means of getting this qualification for most students if they an introductory paragraph that says everything that an IELTS essay needs it to say. And then we put the detail in the other paragraphs. Now, one thing that you haven't done, you've just argued for, yes, it's the right thing to do. And ideally, what we want to do is to look at both sides of the argument, even if you agree with one mainly. So in a first body paragraph, which can be relatively short, you want to sort of say why it might not be a great thing to do. Even if you want to then dismiss that at the end of that paragraph, you have a sentence saying that, however, I believe that if you can afford it and you can take advantage of opportunity, then it's one that you should definitely pursue, or something like that makes it clear that whilst you can understand that, so you could say, for example, that in many Asian universities that standards have certainly improved over the last 10 years. They are trying to reach parity with other parts of the world, but at the moment, this is not yet the case. This does not mean that you cannot get a great education at home, but in my view, you're just reinforcing saying something about it, and then you're moving on to explain what you really think in the next 2 paragraphs. Okay. For that, you've done really quite well. I mean, like I say, I mean, this is a good statement here, and there's a couple of minor little errors like this, like we miss S off the end. We really need an S on there for professors, for example, and we're not quite right with the words here. Will help distinguish you from other candidates. Something like that. But overall, you do quite well. I mean, your score for the vocabulary. like this, for example, here, cultural awareness here, fostering their understanding and appreciation. All of these like collocational phrases are of very high value. You will get like 7.5 for these parts of things. Overall, I can't see you getting less than 7 on the vocabulary. You might actually get 7.5 with it.
Okay, thank you.
The grammar is slightly lower because there's a few more little mistakes. There's no mistakes that interfere with the meaning, but we've just got a couple of little points here and there. But I think you easily get 6.5. You very possibly get 7 for the grammar as well.
Okay.
The task achievement, as I mentioned, is lower because of the reasons that I had earlier. So we probably get 6 for that. It might squeak 6.5 because you explain your reasons well. But we haven't quite got the introduction right, and we haven't looked at the other side of the argument. So I think probably more likely to be 6. Because of these issues here, we don't get a massively high score in the cohesion, but you do get 6.5 minimum for it because it's well paragraphed and you've got some of the linking this with that one. We've got in conclusion here. This is a good introduction to this paragraph there. You could possibly do with maybe 1 or 2 additional words, like put in furthermore somewhere to move on to the next point.
Okay.
Something like that.
Okay.
But I think you'd still get 6.5. So I'm not sure what that would equate to overall then. It probably equates to, and this is the way the scoring works. The scoring sort of works against you in it sort of is, if you're in the middle, so if you like 6.75, which I think is what you would get here, because I think you get 7.5 for the vocab. Let me write these down. 7.5 for the vocab, 7 for the grammar, 6.5 cohesion, and 6 task achievement is going to give you 14, 20, it's going to give you 6.75. Now, that then is averaged down to 6.5. Okay. That's the way it works, unfortunately. It's sort of better than that because you've got 2 scores much higher, but that's the way it works. Now, if we get the task achievement if we just get the task achievement that little bit higher, you then so that's a very quick fix. You can have a very quick fix, which immediately puts that at 6.5, and now we've got 7. Okay. So I think you can quite easily get to that, quite easily. And if we just improve it a little bit further, you can probably get everything to 7. And that means we now, with your vocab at 7.5, that would still get you 7. Now we need 3 scores at 7.5. Getting higher than 7 in writing is really, really hard for second language students, really hard for native speakers, quite frankly. The majority of native speakers would struggle to get 7 on the writing test. So it's a very good score indeed. Okay. Do you have any questions for me on that?
Thank you. It's okay. Good evaluation.
And any questions? Anything you didn't completely follow?
Yeah, I followed.
Okay.
Yes, I'll try to make it.
Yeah. So
suggested.
I mean, it's overall, it's really good. We just need if we correct those few things that I've mentioned, then that will. I think you get an immediate half band increment then.
Increment, yes. Okay.
So that's quite in that respect, is probably a bit of a quick fix. Okay. Right. We're now going to do a mock speaking test. Okay. So this is just going to follow exactly the way the test is formatted. So I will show you on the screen when we get to the part 2. And you'll get the same number of questions and everything else that you would get in the normal test. It's going to last about 15 minutes. Okay.
Just a while. Okay, I'm here. Okay.
Now then, when you go into the examination room, as the examiner, the first thing I ask for is your ID, and we'll check you things on the form and stuff like that. And then I ask you for your name and you. So we've gone past that bit, and then I'm going to ask you your first questions. Okay. So can you tell me something about where you live?
I live in Visakhapatnam, which is the coastal city of India, South India.
Okay.
which has many beaches. I enjoy living here in Visakhapatnam.
What sort of jobs do people do in your hometown?
Generally, in my hometown city, people are uh, are are employed in companies, right? Like steel plant is the major employment sector here, and we have a Hindustan shipyard, which is the India's biggest shipyard. We have here, so employees from shipyard, from steel plant, and we have a port, a seaport, which is the major port in this south coast of India. So there are so many people who are also employed in the port, and there is a divisional railways which were run from this place. So people are also railway people are also employed in railways.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
What would you advise a tourist to see if they came to your hometown?
I advise many people to go to the beaches. In my hometown, there are 3-4 good beaches, which is RK Beach, Ramakrishna Beach, and we have Sagar Nagar Beach, which is very good, and we have Rushkonda Beach. It is also very nice for the tourist people. There are so many things for there for the tourist attractions, and I also advise people to visit the one of the beautiful place which is called as Rushikonda, which is a very prominent place, which is a very prominent tourist site in Visakhapatnam.
Okay, very good, very good.
Okay.
Let's move on to talk about sport. Okay, so tell me which sports you learned at school.
I learned cricket, I learned volleyball. At my school time, I used to play a lot cricket.
Okay.
I also used to play volleyball with my friends at my school.
Okay. How often do you watch sport these days?
Very often I watch sports because nowadays IPL, Indian Premier League, is going on. So there is a lot of cricket fever in the media, where I watch lot of matches of this Indian Premier League.
Okay. Which teams do you support? Are you a supporter of teams, generally speaking?
Okay. Generally speaking, I support Kolkata Knight Riders, and I also support Chennai Super Kings. These two teams I like very much because the players are very good in in these teams. Where I like very much where the 2020 cricket is all about finishing the game earlier. There is a lot of hitting sixes and fours, sending the ball to the boundary. So I like very much these two teams.
Okay, very good, very good. What benefits do you think you get from playing sport?
Can you please?
Oh yeah, I think our internet broke out there. Yeah.
Some interruption was there. Yeah.
What benefits?
At the internet broke out.
You can hear me? Can you hear me now?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. What benefits do we get from playing sport?
Hello.
Hello. What benefits do we get?
It is a very good benefits we. And one of the most important benefit is that our body will be relaxed, and we get a lot of improvement of our body, where we get exercise, which is very much needed. Nowadays, people are not doing the exercise. By sports, we can improve our body conditions, physical body condition, and we can improve our health, I mean.
Okay. All right. Our next topic is furniture. Okay. Which piece of furniture in your home do you like the most?
I like dining table very much because where we sit and dine together, sit and chat together. By chatting, we talk with our family, our brothers and sisters, my brothers and sisters, and my parents. and I like very much talking with them and eating in a dining table. So I like the furniture dining table very much.
Okay. Who buys the furniture in your house?
My mother selects the furniture, and my father will buy the furniture what she wants
Okay.
for the home.
Do you take part in those decisions at all?
Yeah, we used to give some advice that this will be good or that will be good, but they, as an elderly person, she knows what is good for her, for the family, for her sons. So we leave all the important things on her. On her advice, we will follow.
Okay. If you wanted to have more influence in buying furniture, could you do that?
Yes, why not? I will just if I am influenced, I will just definitely do that. I will make my home a beautiful place, and as I am giving advice to my mother, I will be also involved in buying some of the things, furnitures, like the present day needed, present day situation, by present day situation, what are needed.
Okay. Is there a good choice of places to buy furniture where you live?
Yeah, there are so many places, but very near to our house, there's a Reliance attachments were there. So it's a very, I believe that it's a very good place where everything, all household furniture articles are available.
Okay, good. All right. Now then, I'm going to give you a speaking topic for part 2. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
You have 1 minute to prepare what you want to say. You can make some notes if you wish.
Yes. Okay.
And then I'd like you to talk for up to 2 minutes about the topic.
Okay.
I'd like you to talk about an interesting historical site or building that you have visited. And here's your question. Okay, and I'll tell you when to start. Okay, could we start now, please?
Yes. Okay. The interesting historical site which have been there was the Totlakonda, which is near to the Visakhapatnam city, called as Bhimilipatnam, which is on the top of the hill. It is situated. I went 10 years back. It was a very much historical place, as the guide was talking about the history of Buddhist people who has come from China to Visakhapatnam, and they have made a monuments. There are so many monuments of the worship place which was there in that Totlakonda, and I really like that very much, because it is a lot of history involved in it, because there was a lot of cultural setting also was involved in that old building sites. So I asked the guide, so what are the historical importance, the one of the most historical importance which I find in this site was where the guide was explaining was their worship place. out of the Buddhist different sects, there is a sect called Zen Buddhism, which is a very famous Buddhist culture, is which was very much involved in which it was very much I was saying that it was a very good and interesting, and he also explained me their living style, their way of life, and they are how they used to do the exercises after coming out from that place. There is a big places, good places called. Yeah.
Can we stop now, please?
Yeah.
If you go over 2 minutes,
Okay.
the examiner will stop you, okay? Right,
Okay.
very good. Let's move on to part 3.
Okay.
So we've been talking about historical sites, so we'll continue on that particular theme.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is for people to have a sense of their country's history?
Yeah, history is a very, very good. People should know the history of a country, of their culture, of their background, and of their history, of their religion. It is very important because without knowing history, we cannot blindly follow some of the customs. History and culture is very much involved. So we have to be very much for the historical background of our country. We should know the historical background of the country.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
What are some of the important historical places in your country?
The main historical places are, there are so many historical places in our country, but the main historical places are the Mahabalipuram, which is in Tamil Nadu, which is situated in near to Chennai, which is a very historical place where we see the Jain temple and Buddhist temple, which are very much there, and culture is very. We can go and see the ancient culture from that temples. So I feel that it is a very these are the most important places where I can see that country India has a history by these temples.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Do you think history should be a compulsory subject that is taught in schools?
Yes, when I was a student, when I was a child, I was taught the history. By the history, I was very much moved. Not only Indian history, the world history I was taught in schools, where European history, American history, and after knowing the history, I came to know about about how important to know the history. And it is also every person should learn that history and be impressed by convinced that they are very much culturally, they are very much proud of their country by knowing the history. So it is history should be taught in every country.
Okay, very good.
Yes.
Should the government be responsible for the upkeep of important historical sites?
Yes, people should preserve the sites, the history. The government should preserve the historical sites, which are nowadays, like as I said previously about the Buddhist place which was there in our city, which was nowadays it is not seen. It is slowly disintegrating because nobody takes care of that. That's why it is going vanishing. So the people, the countries should make necessary steps to make the historical monuments to be preserved.
Okay, very good. Do you think that history museums today are more educational than they were when your parents were young?
Yes, nowadays the museums were very interesting and educational. They give lot of information. Example, we see Salarjung Museum in Hyderabad, which gives a lot of information about the past things, about the past, how the sultans and how the Mughals and how the kings used to be. So it's a very good that education is a very good historical education is a very good for us to go forward in the country.
Okay, there we are. Very good. That's the end of your test, which is very good indeed. Now then, you did very well there, actually,
Okay.
very well indeed.
Okay.
You answered almost every question promptly.
Okay.
The general guideline is that you need to start answering the question within 5 seconds of the examiner finishing asking you the question. I think there's maybe only that one time towards the end there on the part 3, where we maybe we were slightly, maybe we were about 6 seconds there before we answered.
Okay.
Now that's not going to have any real significant effect on the score, but just mention it in passing.
Okay.
It's actually more difficult to pick out things that were not too good than because there's not very much that wasn't good there in your answer.
Okay.
Right. So let me try my best to do that. Sometimes you repeated the words in the question.
Yeah.
And if we can paraphrase,
Yeah.
much better. You know,
Okay.
the word paraphrase or paraphrasing in the grading criteria for vocabulary is very high on the list of what gets the high scores.
Okay.
So the more we can paraphrase, the higher we'll get that score.
Okay.
And there's a couple of times you sort of, even in the part 2 as well, you know, you sort of said about describing a historical place that you visited, you sort of read the words back to the question. So if we can paraphrase it, today I'd like to tell you about whatever place near where I live or in my province or whatever it happens to be, that's a paraphrased way of saying what you're going to talk about.
Okay.
For example.
Okay.
Some of the part 2 questions, the part 3 questions and the part 1 questions, when I asked you the question, your first response was just yes.
Yeah.
And it's better if we put that into a complete sentence, in what we next say, and make it clear that yes, you agree. Now, being very, very picky indeed, you know, you said historical places quite a lot.
Yeah.
And we could maybe have used heritage sites or something like that, or you know, places of importance to our history.
Okay.
Just so we vary that again, all in the paraphrasing a little bit more. But these points I'm making are there was so much that was very good in your talk that I'm just trying to get out the actual things that maybe we can make a slight improvement on.
Okay.
Now, in the part 1, which is topic related, you know, you did much better. You clearly, sport is one of your things, so you did very, very well on sport because you could talk forever about it.
Okay.
Particularly cricket. I'm a big cricket fan myself.
Yeah.
And on the furniture, we struggled a little bit, which is topic related. Now, those are more difficult questions. If you get more and more difficult questions, because I mean, history is a topic that most students don't like, and the part 3 questions were quite difficult. If your questions, like with you, got more and more difficult, this means we're doing very, very well in the test.
Okay.
Because the way that we try and get your true level is by increasing the difficulty, increasing the complexity of the questions.
Complexity,
if you're struggling early, then the questions will stay of the same sort of difficulty level. So by getting more difficult topics and more difficult concepts in the questions towards the end, it means that you're doing very well. Now, in terms of the score, I think your fluency rate is really high. I graded you at 7.5 for the part 1, 7 for the part 2. Sort of between in the part 3, so I'd probably put you at 7.5. Pronunciation for many second language students never really gets beyond 6.5 because there's always some issues that stick it there. But it's very good for a second language student, subcontinent student. 6.5 is very, very good. Your vocabulary, I think, definitely gets to 7.5, definitely. Maybe higher. And your grammar does not slip below 7. So overall, I think that gives you a 7.5.
Thank you.
which is exceptionally good. In your speaking test, I think it has to be a very bad day for you to get 6.5 or lower. I think you should definitely be able to accomplish 7. I think at least half of the time, maybe more, you can shoot for 7.5. I wouldn't be surprised if you get that at all. I wouldn't really be surprised. I think it's an outside chance, but I wouldn't be that surprised if you got 8 on the speaking. If you got some really good topics and you really were in the flow of it, so the fluency can get
if topics are there, yes.
Yeah, I think we can do that. But I don't see you lower than 7. I see you more likely to get higher. So very well done indeed.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
there we are. All done.
Thank you. Okay.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Wish you well.